Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
Hello and welcome back to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. It's Tania here and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Paul. Hey Paul, how you going today?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Keen to chat about our subject today.
Wonderful. And today we are talking all things migration pathways specifically for NDIS providers. And we are joined by the team from DMS Migration. We have Amitabha, who is the founder and registered migration agent. We have Irene, the PMO, and Arun, the digital marketing manager. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To begin with, why don't you tell me a little bit more about DMS migration, your journey, and I suppose the work that you're currently doing in this space?
So, hello everyone. My name is Amitabha Deb. I have been doing this for almost 20 odd years. I have been a registered migration agent. Prior to this, I was in IT. And then I thought of doing something that assists people who have a desire to move places, because I am born to migrant parents. And in doing so, I found that I enjoy doing this. I enjoy helping people achieve their goals of making a move to a new country, settle down, as well as helping employers finding the right people for them. So this is what I have been doing till today.
Amazing. Sounds great. And Irene and Arun, did you want to give us some background about you and your roles and how you help in this process?
Arun, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I moved to Australia last year, actually, in the month of Feb. So I'm fairly new in this country. After moving here, I was looking for a job for some time, and one day Amitabha reached out to me and said, "Look, I have this opening here, and I need someone to help me with digital marketing efforts for my business. Would you like to do that?" I said, "Why not?" And ever since then, that's what we've been doing. We started a podcast, Moving to Australia with Amitabha Dev. It's a weekly podcast where I co-host it with Amitabha, and we talk everything migration. And then I'm also the social media manager, if you can think of that. So any news related to migration, it's up there on social media or Facebook channel, Instagram. And so basically, yeah, that's it. Just handling everything related to digital marketing. And it's been wonderful so far.
And customer experience.
Yeah, you could say that.
Awesome. And Irene?
I'd also have a background of IT, and Amitabha and I have known each other for 24 years. So I've seen him working with this company, and when my last contract finished, he asked me to join, and that was over a year and a half ago. So time flies. So I've been with the company for a while. I am PMO at DMS Migration. So basically I facilitate all the queries that are coming in and help respond, and also are online for contact if they can't get hold of Amitabha. So I've quite enjoyed it. It's different to what I've been doing, but also it's similar because I have an IT background, so I can relate to what kind of work they're doing and also help on their journey.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. I think for our listeners, they'd love to get a really good idea. What is, a labor agreement? How can they help an NDIS business to find the staff they need to fill the roles that they've got? Amitabha, can you give us an idea around that?
Yes, let's get started on this one. Yes, this is quite exciting and a new area for me because I have done a few of these, um, and I did some research and I found that there are about 6 to 7 occupations that can be um, nominated under labor agreement and the
Mm-hmm.
various types of labor agreements. These include the three under aged care. One is aged or disabled carer. Then there is nursing support worker and personal care assistant. Apart from these, we also have disability services officer, registered nurse for development disability, registered nurse for disability and rehab, and also enrolled nurses. So basically, for labor agreements are developed between the Australian government, represented by the Department of Home Affairs, and employers. So they enter into an agreement, and these are generally in effect for 5 years and
Mm-hmm.
provide for visas to be granted under one or more of three types of visa programs: 482, 186, and 494. So out of these, 482 and 494 are temporary visas. 186 is a permanent visa.
Hmm.
Right? So there are 5 different types of labor agreements. The ones that we are interested in are the industry labor agreements and designated area migration agreements. So it depends on where the employers are. If the employers are in certain designated areas of Australia, they can come under designated area migration agreements. Otherwise, they can come under industry specific labor agreements. So there are currently 10 industry specific labor agreements in place. These are advertising, dairy, fishing, blah, blah, blah. I won't list all of them, but the ones that we are interested in are aged care and on hire. So the main difference between these two labor agreements is that for aged care, there's a salary concession and one can be paid 51,000 Australian dollars a year. On hire, it's about 65,000.
Right. Okay.
Unless the employers negotiate certain concessions.
Right.
And there are concessions available under DAMA.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that for our listeners?
So DAMA is a designated area migration agreement. It is for certain areas of Australia where there is a shortage of it's for interior category 3 towns, where there is a shortage of people because generally no one goes there, no one would like to go there. So there are currently 12 damas in place. There is this Adelaide City Technology and Innovation Dama, East Kimberley in Western Australia, Far North Queensland, which is Cairns Chamber of Commerce. Then there is Goulburn Valley in Victoria, Great South Coast in Victoria, Northern Territory. All of Northern Territory is covered under DAMA. In New South Wales, we also have Orana. Then there is Pilbara in Western Australia, South Australia Regional, Southwest in Western Australia, Goldfields and Townsville. So any employer that fall under any of these DAMA locations, they can have an agreement. So DAMA is a two-tier framework covering those defined areas. The first tier is an overarching 5-year deed of agreement. It's called the head agreement with the region's representative. Usually the region's representative is the designated area representative, DAR, which is the state or territory governments or regional bodies such as the Chamber of Commerce, Regional Development Authority, or Shire Councils. So they have a head agreement, and then the employers do an agreement. There is an agreement between the individual employers and those DARs.
Right.
And all these agreements are valid for a period of 5 years.
Oh, that's great.
And are used for subclass 482. And there is a lot of concession. There is age concession. Usually one has to be below 45. But in certain cases, in Dama, there is no age limit.
Right.
Yeah?
So they're definitely trying to make it easy to get people into those regional locations. I wonder, where do the staff come from? Like, where are you finding people to fill these roles?
They apply from all over the world. There are people who come from Philippines, from India, a few from Sri Lanka, South Africa. In Australia, there is a genuine shortage of staff to fill in, especially in the aged care industry. So all these people who come, who apply from all these locations, they have to be, of course, qualified. They have to have their skills assessed by the respective assessment body, and they must usually have at least 1 year of experience. So, for example, a nursing support worker or a personal care assistant, they must be assessed. They must have a positive skills assessment done by NMAC. NMAC is the EPIC body for nurses. The aged or disabled carer, they must be assessed by ACWA. So that is Australian Community Workers Association. So once they are assessed, there's a tick that they are qualified. They can then be recruited by the respective employers. So I have a pool of those candidates who are eligible, and if there are employers who are keen, they can be introduced, and then we follow one of those labor agreements. If they already have the labor agreements, all we need to do is apply for nomination and then apply for the visa. So it's basically a 3-step process. The organization will apply for a labor agreement either under DAMA or under the aged care labor agreement or on hire labor agreement, one of these 3. Once it is approved, the organization will then interview the applicant, and if the applicant fulfills the requirement, they will nominate the applicant. Once the nomination is approved, the applicant will apply for the visa. Yeah.
So what sort of, you've gone through a bit of those steps there. What sort of time frame would a provider be looking at to make all this happen? I guess once they've entered an agreement.
Right. So the first step, which is applying for a labor agreement, and the labor agreement is valid for 5 years, it takes about 2 weeks to 1 month to get approved. Usually for aged care industry, they need to have an MOU with the respective industry union. For example, Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation, ANMF, or the Health Services Union, HSU. So once they do this MOU, they already satisfy the requirement for labor market testing. And hence, they are ready to start recruiting. If they find a suitable candidate, they nominate the application. So the applicant, we lodge the application. It is finalized pretty quickly, almost within a week, because the government has given, the Department of Home Affairs have listed their priority, and healthcare is number 1 priority. Healthcare in regional is number 1. So anyone from regional area, any employer from regional area applies to nominate someone, it'll probably be done within a day, provided the requirements are met. And then the applicant applies for the visa, again, another couple of days, it's done. So
Okay.
this files move pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul. I interrupted you.
Okay. So if I summarize some of that, it sounds like there's a whole bunch of criteria for who can access a labour hire agreement, which is worked out, who is eligible as a worker to come over on a labour hire agreement. And that's worked out based on what regional cities they're going to and what kind of skills they've done in their home country. They need to be assessed by whichever it is. So in the NDIS sector, where disability providers, similar to aged care, but obviously mostly in the community, and they might have support workers that they need. So based on their region, they could say, okay, our region qualifies, our area qualifies to have a labour agreement, and then they'd go through the process of them as an organisation going through and getting approved as a business that can get a labour hire agreement in place. And to do that, they would work with someone like you to get an agreement with one of the unions and determine what type of role is needed, check that they fit within those categories. And then do you also help them then to recruit that person through your networks?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So you help them find that person, you organise their paperwork for them to get visas, arrive in Australia, and then they can start working. And you said that there's a 5-year agreement process, a 5-year process where that worker is approved for that employer for 5 years. Is that right?
The employer is approved for a lesser period. 5 years is the period during which the employer can employ under this agreement. The agreement is valid for 5 years to recruit into their business.
So they have 5 years to find someone, and then how long do they have that specific worker working with them?
About 2 years.
2 years.
2 years, but that can be extended.
Okay, 2 years. So they get somebody locked in for 2 years. What are the types of costs that are involved for an employer who is looking to get a labour hire agreement? There's obviously fees for you. Is there fees also to the government to get that labour hire agreement? And are there then ongoing fees once the initial applications are done?
The labour hire agreement application is free. The nomination depends on the size of the organisation. There's a nomination charge of 330 Australian dollars, plus, depending on the turnover, there could be a Skills Australia Fund levy.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
So it isn't too expensive for them. Now, we also note here that some of the businesses may be struggling to pay the market threshold set by the government for foreign workers. So there is a concession there as well. And for aged care, it is 51,222 Australian dollars a year, whereas the government has set the threshold to be $70,000 a year for any occupation. So there is a concession. If an employer needs further concession, that also can be negotiated, depending on their situation and the grants they have in place.
Great. So they have to pay a fee to get this labour hire agreement, but then there is a savings on the salary paid to the worker for those 2 years. And I guess one of the big benefits in the disability sector would be that they also have that tenure of someone for 2 years potentially.
Correct.
And then that could be extended if they, treat them well, and they're at that $51,000 rate. I don't know the SHADS award very well, which is what we pay in the disability space, but I assume that would be, on par or below the SHADS award potentially, so that there's a savings there as well as that retention piece.
And also there is an incentive for the foreign worker, because there is a pathway to permanent residence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I think that's a really good incentive for the provider as well, knowing that, considering that the industry as a whole is really quite casual and in flux on a general basis, knowing that you could have a few support workers who are, uh, permanently with you for the next X period of time, it allows a business to be able to go, here's what we can actually plan for over the next, 2 years, knowing we have these workers. What
Right.
size business should be looking into these options, like number of staff, turnover? Is there any like entry level that you would say?
No, there isn't. I mean, they can. It can be a new business, entirely new business, and they have a business plan, and that is perfectly fine, as long as they have a plan. If they as long as they have a projection of the number of staff they um, are planning to recruit over the next 5 years, and how they plan to upskill the local market. They need to have a plan to
Yeah.
recruit locally as well. Bring in foreign workers. The idea of bringing in foreign workers is not just getting someone from outside for cheap. The idea is also to upskill locals, and that is a very
Yeah.
important part of the program.
I know a lot of providers have a process in place, even to just upskill their existing workers, making sure that they're learning new skills
Absolutely.
and doing what they need to do. And so that obviously would need to be key. You're bringing someone in, they've got a level of training, but then we want to, go to the nuances of each individual client. Obviously, in this space, everyone's individual needs, requirements, processes and procedures. So I think you're really quite good there, that we're making sure that we are upskilling those people as well, not just going, hey, you're a worker and you're qualified, that's it. But that's also, I think, across the board.
And also the government is going to ensure that there is no misuse. They will be conducting audit every year to ensure that the processes are in place, all the rules are followed, and there is no exploitation. It's not about just making money. It's about community service, NDIS. So you do profit, but you also have your commitments
Brilliant
to be met.
And what are some of the challenges of labour hire agreements? Is there a lot of government paperwork? Is there ongoing reporting to do? Is there ongoing costs?
No, I think the government has been very flexible. In the past, there was a huge paperwork, but there has been a lot of templates, a lot of streamlining. So all one needs to do is pick up a template, and then that's it. Execute. It's quite straightforward.
Great.
Of course, if there's a new occupation that has not entered into the labor market setting, there's no template, then it is the first time. But I think in aged care industry, it's all there. It's all time tested and proven. So it's quite straightforward.
Yeah, fantastic. So if someone's listening today and are interested to find out how they could use a labour agreement in their business to be able to fill those roles, that maybe they're looking at regional areas, or they've got people wanting more work to happen but they just can't get the staff, how do they find out more about you and how you can help them there?
I have a website, dmsmigration.com. So I think if they go in there and hit the contact us, phone numbers are there as well, I think. We are revamping the website, but the contact details are pretty much there.
Brilliant.
And of course, I'm not the only one. There are many others who provide this service as well. So anyone, you just have to Google and find out who provides the service.
Brilliant. Tania, is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish up today?
No, I think that was really great. I guess there was lots of information there around what this looks like. I guess the last question I kind of had was around if your best piece of advice for a disability provider who was looking at that, where should they start? What are the things that you've seen go wrong that they could avoid? Is there any your 3 top pieces of advice for someone considering this for the first time?
I think it's very important to find the candidate who is eligible, to ensure that that person has the right skills, the documentation is proper, because you can, there could be a chance of refusal if it is not done properly. So, and also, there is only these 6 or 7 occupations on the list to choose from. So whoever is going to be inducted in has to fit in one of these within the framework of the requirements that are laid down.
Sure. Yeah. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It's been awesome to talk to you. And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. We hope you found this topic interesting. And if you have any questions on migration pathways for your NDIS business, please reach out to DMS Migration for more information. Thanks, guys, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Tania. Thanks, Paul. Have a lovely day.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider podcast with Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.